What's up, guys? It's your boy Taz here for another painful learning session this evening. Um, so, what I have not yet shown you guys how to do is to import helmets. Helmets are a little bit more difficult than I think shoulders. Shoulders tend to scale automatically, at least in my experience, they do. So, they're not that big of an issue. But helmets are a pain in the ass. There's no way around it. There's just a lot of models that have to be edited in order to get the correct, the desired effect. And so today, what I'm going to show you guys is how you can import post Waddle K items into the game that are helms and how to make them work. I've gotten one to work well, two technically to work so far. The first one was the First War Stormwind um, Footman's helm, right? That one. But that wasn't really the same thing because it used an old model from Classic and it wasn't quite as bad. So you can see I've got some test characters here I've created, and there's Montoya with his, First War, basically Warcraft 1 helm that I created a while back. This is going to show you how I did that, but it's going to include some extra steps. Now keep in mind I did edit this. This was basically I took the model of the Horned Viking helm and I edited to my liking. Uh, Gave it a little bit more of a pronounced chin guard here and changed the texturing up top to match kind of the the armor. Um, and I need to go back in and actually edit the PNG file that this is using, but we'll do that at a later date and create another BLP. I've been showing you guys how to do stuff like that all day today. So this is the working model of what I created, and basically what I did was I took out Dark Ranger's hood, and I also edited it just a tiny bit in Blender um, to get that right. So here's the scoop on that. All I did really was pronounce this a little bit further in the back just because for aesthetic sake, and I changed it green. Um, and that was pretty much it. So the good news is that we won't really have to mess with the BLP file anymore in terms of that. So all we're really going to be doing is changing the models up. So let's go ahead and get started. We can see that it works here on this guy. I'm going to go ahead and show you why you can't just take any model and use it. Hell, I'll show you on Montoya actually. I think I already have it on him, right? Oh, no, I deleted it. Alright, that's the item that I created. And this is what happens when you put it on. It's a mess. Absolute disaster of a model. And I don't know why it's like that. I have no earthly idea, but that's what it does. So let's fix that. Alright, since I do have a perfectly good test character right there, we're just going to do the human version, human male version. And again, this was typical run-of-the-mill export as object, and I don't even export as M2 raw anymore for the simple fact that basically, um, actually, now that I think about it, this won't be as bad as I thought after you get the initial model. I'm going to go through the steps anyway and show you kind of what I did to get here. So we exported this, and over here on another one of my million things. This is what exported basically. All of this was for that one helmet. And I started out with Blood Elf Male. You can tell again here by the nomenclature BEM. And you can tell this is also a later one because there's the Worgen are located in here. There's all sorts of different races that you wouldn't have seen back in Waddle K days. Um, but I went and took that M2 file, or was it the OBJ file? Doesn't matter. This is the M2, obviously, but there's also the OBJ. So the helm's called Helm Armor Sylvanus D01, and it too has the same nomenclature, naming type. So let's go ahead and do the human now. So this is the object file. Oh boy. And I'm not going to go through and, well, I am going to do that because I'm going to have to. It's as bad as I thought. As you can see here, this is the way that I had to change the file around in order for it to work after importing to Blender. And so basically it's going to import to the front, and you're going to, I believe this is, as a matter of fact, upside down. So the up is up by the, where's the camera and shit? Right there. Okay. So you kind of have to turn it on its head and move it around so that it fits and everything. And we'll go ahead and do that really quick. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm not enthusiastic about this because this is one of the most frustrating things that I've encountered. All right. So we're gonna open up Blender. Okay. And we're gonna import one of those files. So wavefront object, we're going to come back over here, copy our file path that we had going, right? Where'd it go? This one. Copy this file path here. Look for our human male. Object file, there we go. Import that bad boy. Alright. And, oh wow, it's actually using the correct BLP file at least. So it's already turned itself green for us. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this on its head like it was, because we already know that that's one of the things. So we're going to say rotate on the, I think, x-axis. There we go. Oops. You also want to make sure that you've got a good viewpoint here. You can do the number pads and it'll actually sift through for you. There, that's directly 90 degrees. Number pad 4 gets you that view if you're curious. But your numpad will give you the different views from an orthographic. Alright, rotate again, x-axis. That's the top. We don't want that. There. Okay. I believe that is good. I think that will work. So, we've done all we're going to do here. Actually, no, we haven't. We're going to move it preemptively. I don't know if I need to do this yet, but I'm pretty sure I will. And I've rotated it the wrong damn way. I can already tell. That's good enough. Go ahead and move it along the y-axis again. I'm just going based off of what I had to do for the blood elf here, so this could be completely way off base and might even have something to do with why I have to do this for each and every race and gender. Alright, we'll export and we're gonna send it to our new folder over here. This is just what I've been working out of, and we're gonna name this a completely different name, and I'm gonna show you why in just a second. Why did it do that? Copy. We're just renaming that for the human. Again, I'll show you why here in a second, but this is a completely different item we're naming this. And I would suggest rather than using whatever divine blood, I did it on some epic item that I shouldn't have done it on. So I would suggest picking a shitty cow of some kind that you don't really care about in terms of replacing the item. Because I'll show you why in a sec. Alright. You're going to keep Blender open. At least I suggest doing that if you want to keep your coloring. I'm going to close this. And over here is our item display info. And so here's what happens. We just edited that file, that OBJ file, and you can see it's got the whole designation for human in it. It's got the gender, and it's got it for every race that can wear this thing, right? Well, the problem with that is that if you were to run it through the item display info DBC as that, you'd have to have a million entries, and the way that this is structured, it still wouldn't work because I even tried that. So what you have to do is, and I haven't figured out where yet, but somewhere in the file structure of the game, it is dictating and telling, um, based off of your race and gender of your character, to pull the appropriate model from this name. And those models are tied to this by some primary key somewhere, and it'll give you the appropriate model based off of that. The issue is when you introduce a new item, it's not like a new model for a sword or something along those lines. It needs that same capability. And I do not know the file structure well enough to say what in the heck I have to put in and where I have to put it to get it to function that way. So what you have to do instead is hijack one that is allocated and will make those changes for you automatically. Ideally, not an epic raid item like I did, and basically use that. So that's why this is using a completely different thing. But you'll see where in the item later on that we're using actually this item ID, display ID. And that's why it's done that way. So from there, what did I do here? I thought I exported this to the appropriate place, but I apparently didn't. Should have gone to new folder. Helm robe, raid priest, human.object, and human.mtl. Okay, yeah, it did. Okay. So I'm going to come over and I'm going to move this over for you guys. All right, and we're going to edit this. We're going to start where it's important, actually. I gleaned a couple of things out of this that were actually pretty damn useful. So the first thing I learned is that you kind of do want to mess with the NTL, at least if you can help it. So we're going to rename this, and it's crucial that you keep your MTL files uniform. Basically, anything you're dealing with on the model needs to be uniform in name. So we're going to go and we're going to change this to, sorry, you want to keep the matte pretext there to that. And we're going to keep this the same. And all this is doing is pulling it from the WoW exports. And that is completely fine. It's basically saying pull this PNG file and apply it to these coordinates under this new name that we're making it. That's all this is doing. All right. Now I'm going to close this because this is old work. I'm going to close out of that completely. Now we're going to go to the OBJ file and edit it. And you can see that it's going to pull from that library that we just did. And it does it automatically like that because of the fact that it has that's how it exported from Blender. Okay. Now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna change this down here to say the MTL like we always do. And the important thing here is that this is actually it is pulling from the MTL. But when this gets converted into an M2 file, it's actually going to use this nomenclature to look for the BLP that it's associated with. So that's why it's important to keep your naming conventions uniform. And before today, what I was doing was essentially a shotgun approach and just making multiple files with everything having essentially the same name and praying for the best, right? Okay, so this is where all of our finished work is at. And realistically, we don't need this. We don't need that. And we don't need these. The M2 is fine. This is all, everything up top here, from here up top, is pretty much necessary. This PNG file is not necessary, but I'm keeping it in here as the base file in case I ever want to go back and edit it, because then to edit the colors and all that stuff, I've only got to edit this one file. And I don't want to have to find it in my MPQ and extract it that way. So it's good if you're keeping this stuff locally you can see some of the stuff that I've used before is still in here, and I try to keep somewhat of a record. You don't want two versions of your game sitting on your PC, but this is just good practice while you're working on stuff. Once you get it all good and you're happy with it, I would say go ahead and kill it if you want, or maybe extract it and store it to another hard drive or something. Okay, so let's go back. I don't like this view at all. There. Okay. Now we're gonna take these and we're going to put them into Amaroth's script. We've already edited them appropriately, so that's not a problem. And we're gonna take that and delete them. And this is the BLP we were working on earlier. This is the original. And what you will want to do here is copy the naming convention and establish it under the BLP. And I'm going to go ahead and just can that one because it doesn't need to be here. Okay. All that in there, we should now have everything that we need to make this work. So object to, oh, nope, not yet, not yet. Now you're going to want to edit this to say what it needs to say. And that's okay. Yep. And I've already got the file path worked out, so we don't have to worry about that. And this is standard. We've done this for every single imported model. All right. Okay. Everything's out. Now we'll go back into our finished product and paste it here. All right. Now we're going to go into our data folder, patch Z, item. Where is it? Yeah. Sorry. It's a little late. I've been beating my head against this all afternoon. Go ahead and give it that file path. Since this is finished work, we're just going to take everything so that we don't miss it. There's going to be a couple things that get overwritten, but since they're already functioning and we've got good copies of it, it's not a big deal. So there we go. That's ready to test. Let's see what it did. Now there's a very good chance that this thing will be lopsided or too big or too small or too high or too low. Not bad. Needs to come back a little and down. But that worked okay. I'm satisfied with that. It's a really quick fix to change that up. But this is exactly why we keep Blender open while we're doing this, because keeps your position and all that stuff, your coloring, and it's just a little bit easier for reference. So what I like to do here is take a screenshot, and I'm going to keep my cursor about right where his head actually is to give myself a point of reference. I'm going to throw that up in Paint. And again, we'll keep this up here for reference on what needs to change. And how far back this needs to come. Nice. Okay. And we'll go back into Blender here. Pull up Paint just so it's nice and in my face. Alright, I'm going to pull it over to my other screen, but you guys get the idea what I'm doing here. Okay. It needs to come down. How far? Alright. The top of the hood needs to get down to about right where his brim was, so right about there is probably safe. And then it needs to come back. About yay far. We'll play it safe. That looks good. File. Export. Wavefront object. I name this the exact same. And we're going to do this all over again in the MTL and object file. So 1226, that's the correct one. Edit with Notepad. Okay. Hold on. More options, rename, copy. Edit with Notepad. Come up. Give it the appropriate name there on the MTL. Damn it. Give it the appropriate Blender name. Keep in mind you don't need the mat prefix here. In fact, I want to make sure you get rid of it because it will fuck it up. Go ahead and move this into the finished product. Head it back over to scripts. Overwrite this. Delete those. Run the command since it's already been set up for us. And then throw the whole thing into finished product again. And finally, import it. Oh. With the client closed, import it. Sorry. Come on, come on. Item. Alright, that should do it. This will probably feel pretty good that we probably got it moved appropriately. Too low. Damn. But we were right on the back and forth at least. So what I'm going to do, because I like where this is sitting at the bottom of the cow, I don't want to change that really. I'm kind of happy with that. And I like the fact that the brim's low, so we're just going to alter the actual top of the brim there. I'm not going to move the object per se. I'm going to go back over to edit mode, go to wireframe. The problem area is right about here. So we're going to select the following vertices. shooting from the hip here, but I think, why not? Okay. I'm going to say G to move it. Press the Y key to move it along the Y axis. And we're going to just give him a little bit of headroom here. Now, how ridiculous does this look? Not bad at all. Fairly natural. Alright, one more time. Close. Save changes before closing. Don't save. Oh, wait. Keep that open, dummy. Alright, close. Alright. Go back to new folder. That's us just edited. Edit. I do this every time. Think I'd learn. Alright, copy. Just not enough. Just not quite enough. There we go. And that's what you got to do. You have to do that for each and every gender and race in the game that you want to be able to wear this. So, like I said, it's a massive pain in the ass for helmets, but it can be worth it. This is pretty cool looking. Um, yeah, it's just a pain in the dick. So it's a little bit reminiscent of maybe I don't know. I guess the Death Knight hood, but yeah, helmets are hard. So just keep that in mind when you're starting to look at these kinds of things. It's a shame that it's the way that it is because there's only so many models you can work with on Waddle K, and you're basically stuck with either editing shoulders or weapons and or offhand stuff, and that's really it, unless you're messing around with actual WMOs and M2s for map editing, that kind of thing. So it's essentially 30% of the items that you probably are interested in messing with. And what's worse is that you can't just create one out of thin air and shove it in there. So that's also rather unfortunate because it just doesn't designate. So, but anyways, folks, I thought I'd go through that really quickly. One quick thing is that the item DBC here. So this, as far as I can tell, um, has to match. So even though you're already using the model that you're stealing, right, from something else, but you have to make sure that the texture matches. And again, this is a mapping issue. So this model is being told to use this texture for this item display. And so it's calling on all the appropriate things on the back end somewhere. And ultimately, what it will end up deciding what texture actually gets used is the M2 file that you just converted. And so that's why, even though this item model texture states that it's using Helm Robe Raid Priest F01 Orange, it's actually using the BLP that we renamed and defined in the M2 file from the .obj file before we converted it. And I need to find a better uh, icon than what looks like an iron helmet, but whatever. Actually, really quickly let's just find one. There. Go ahead and save that. That's item display, right? Yeah. Go over here. Again, pretty much a shot from the hip. I have no idea what the icon will be. But I'm fairly confident it will resemble a cowl instead of a full helm. So that'll be nice. Honestly, probably the least important part of this entire process, but I'm sure this would pile up. You don't want 20 different swords in your inventory that all look the same. And, force yourself to read them all. That's why they have icons in the first place. Okay, yeah, so now it looks like an actual hood on the inside there. All right, folks, that's all I got for you this evening. Like I said, we're coming up on the holidays. I was just trying to crank some content out for you guys. I hope this helps. I hope if someone has a better way of doing this, a faster way of doing it so that I don't have to go in and edit each individual M2 file in order to get it to work with each different race and gender, I'd very much appreciate that because it's not going to just be me that's using this. There's going to be other people playing the game that want to use, female gnomes that want to wear a hood or whatever. It would be nice not to have to do that process 16 times. And yeah, so that's all I got. Much appreciated if you guys would help out with that if anyone does know. If not, it's no worries. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and we will catch you guys on the next one.